I'm doing pretty good. It's another
Good.
week. Another week out of the way.
Yes.
A new one beginning.
Until what? Out of the way until
The countdown to something
ob
continues.
oblivion. Well, welcome back, Tom, and loyal listeners to another episode of Two Guys Talking Toys.
That is what we are.
Mhm. We are talking.
So
Uh,
what have you
what,
we'll
what,
jump right in. What have you
all right.
gotten this week? Have you had anything new? Anything interesting?
I did. I got one of the best villains of all time to
Ooh.
be in a cartoon, and that is the Ultimates
Oh, very
Cobra
nice.
Commander. Yeah, I like the cape. It doesn't really like clip on. Like I thought it had like magnets, but
No?
he's
Huh.
it just kind of lays on it's like it has wires along the
Mhm.
edge, and
Okay.
it kind of just holds it in it because it's got the little buttons, and I thought those would be like magnets or something, but they're not.
Yeah. You figured
But
there'd
it's
be like a
still
you figured there'd be a clasp or something.
yeah, but it's still a great figure. Like look how for a sniveling little wimp, he looks
It is very regal. It's very regal looking.
pretty noble. Yeah, and I always liked his like old school like softball uniform, pants over the cleats kind of thing going on. But this is a great figure. Of course, it comes with two heads, without the gray, but I like the gray. And it comes with different hands and it comes with a cobra and of course his staff.
Mhm.
And I still want to get my Cobra Commander tattoo because on my leg I have Skeletor and
Mhm.
his chaos staff. I want on the other side of my leg like Cobra Commander with his
Yeah.
servant staff. So
That would be really cool. Now, do you care about him having a mast head, or rather, him not having a mast head? That seems to
you mean
have
the
been,
hood?
yeah, that seems to have been like a big thing. I personally, I don't care, but I'm also not huge into Joe.
Right. I would like to have one with the hooded
Mhm.
because they made Baron Zemo figures with the hood, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it's and I get why they wouldn't want to, right?
Yeah.
But it's not the same kind of hood, and we've had other figures, and he's got that. I get it. Like he's got that
Mhm.
kind of Nazi looking uniform, right? So he kind of has that thing, but nothing in his character has ever, led you down that way. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to see the one with the hood, and I know there are people who 3D print them and that kind
Yeah.
of thing.
That's
But
kind of that's kind of my
I
thing. It's
I get
I
it.
yeah, I get why people want it. I get why people why the maker this why Super Seven did not want to make it.
Right,
But
I
for
get it.
me, I don't know. Like if you really want to have that, there's ways to get it. Like you said, like people make
Mhm.
3D prints of it. There's all kinds of different people that make castings and whatever. I feel like it's not like
Yeah.
a huge thing. Just
Right.
just curious to see if you preferred
Yeah,
yours
I
with
mean, I
a
would like it just because it's just it's one of the classic looks, and even in the cartoon you see him with the hood on, right? Um, but things people for good or bad, wherever you stand, weren't as sensitive about that,
I
back in the
wonder
day. So
I wonder if since Super Seven is kind of keeping more towards the animated versions of GI Joe characters, if we're going to get that version of Cobra Commander that had that weird armored helmet,
the battle armor,
but
yeah,
not
nobody's redone that.
no,
Nobody.
no
I
one's
think
touched
a
it yet.
classifieds version of that would be outstanding. And
What?
certainly the Super 7 Ultimates line that I
Mhm.
just showed would be great. You know what's going to happen? It's just going to be the reaction line, and I'm going to be PO'd about it.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. It'll be something. It'll
Mhm.
be an object that exists. But you know what I would like even more than that? The post movie version of Cobra Commander in those weird episodes that I found where it's still
Right.
him kind of as a snake, but
Mhm.
he'd been regressed to sort of like human again, or like changed back into sort of a human. So he's in
Right.
this weird middle ground. So you could actually see in that episode the scaling on his face
Right.
underneath the armored helmet.
The movies, the GI Joe movies were a travesty of justice, but um, they did come out with one really cool Cobra Commander figure that had sort of like a burgundy metallic armor plate and a long like trench coat and the mask.
Huh.
Uh, It's very cool. Like I would like, like the Masterverse is going through everything from Dolph Lundgren to
Yeah.
that weird ponytailed you know, motivational speaker He-Man. Um, but that'd be cool if kind of G.I. Joe did that too.
Yeah, I would like
Like,
start. It'd be kind of neat to see them poke into some of the. I mean, they're cranking out enough characters now. Like that pipeline list just seems to be growing and growing and growing. At some point, you figure
yeah.
they've got to maybe reach out every now and then and pull in some of the concept ideas because that would be really cool.
Mhm. Yeah. What you got? Got something new?
I do. So my varying attention span to just random things that I come across that look neat has struck again. So uh, there is a toy company called Joy Toy, who I am not familiar with, but I started
Joy
seeing.
Toy.
Yes, they
That
started
sounds
making.
like an Adam and Eve product designer.
Now you would think, and that would be a different kind of free plug, but this this particular group has been making Warhammer toys,
Oh,
and
nice.
I know nothing of Warhammer,
I've seen
and
some cool Warhammer stuff though.
yeah, like I've seen the models. I'm vaguely familiar with the aesthetic. Uh, I saw some of their toys appear online, and I don't know. I didn't know exactly what their scale was or anything at first, but
Oh,
they are
that's cool.
phenomenal. They are fantastic. This
I
thing's
have never
about
seen one out of the package, but they do look great.
he's yeah he's about maybe like 4.5, maybe about 4.5, maybe not quite 5 inches.
Mhm.
They are full on. Like the articulation on this guy is ridiculous. So this is the Black Templar's Blade Guard veteran. I don't know what
Well,
that means. I don't know
that's
where
cool.
how
That's
he
quite a
relates in the
title. That's
story.
quite a title. That's a good business
Yeah,
card.
I know nothing about him. All I know is he looks super cool, and I got him, and he remained super cool. So I ordered a couple more. So I have a yellow one who's the
Oh,
imperialist fist blade guard veteran. I don't know what that means, but he
it's
looks
good that
super
they're all
cool.
veterans.
Yeah,
They're all veterans. That's
you
good.
don't you don't want a bunch
You
of
don't want an
newbie.
amateur blade guard.
Yeah, you don't want a bunch of like newbie scrubs on your team. You want the ultramarine hero of the chapter. You want him on your side.
Yes, the hero of
And
the
they
chapter,
Yeah, and
Ultramarine.
they
Yeah.
and they come with like these, like he's holding a giant flag banner thing, but he also has a sword that is a chainsaw. It's really cool.
Nice.
Uh,
Yeah, I've looked at the
they're
Warhammer stuff, like the regular retail stuff,
mhm.
and they look really cool. I just don't want to buy them because then I have to get them all.
Yep, and that's kind of becoming my problem with these because they're kind of pricey. You're gonna pay for these, and I actually got these on sale. But I love them. I've been fiddling with them like all kind of like all afternoon, and there hasn't
Now, did you
been.
buy them in a brick and mortar, or did you mail away?
No, these I found in a place online. Well, you can get them in a few places. I got mine from a place called AliExpress.
Uh huh.
They
Yep.
are a fantastic website. It's a bunch of like not quite eBay, but it's a collection of overseas sellers, mostly in China, and they
Mm.
have access to uh figures that are out here, but also a lot of like imported stuff. Will reach China first, and some of them will sell for a discounted price. Some of them will receive items that we get in the US. They'll get them first, and then you can order from them. And that's how I. Some people online will order from them, and they'll get get them maybe like within 3 or 4 weeks from the order date, but still before the release date in the US.
Right. That sounds cool. There you
It's
go.
it's
Shameless
very
plug.
neat, very
We do
neat.
a lot of shameless plugs. I like it.
I will never finish this collection, but I will definitely be grabbing whatever parts and bits from it look interesting because there's so many really neat looking guys that are still coming out for this line. It looks like they're
Yeah, those look great, man. And
is
you
it
were holding out on me too. You didn't tell me about those.
they were a pleasant surprise, and I wanted to keep them all to myself. No, I
Mm,
I would
shameful.
recommend you would
Stingy.
get some of these.
Stingy is Tom. Well, Unfortunately, I don't have any reference to Warhammer to lead into our topic for today, but I do have, of course, Cobra Commander sitting right here on my table, and
Mhm.
my introduction to Cobra Commander, as many of the wonderful characters that we collect and buy and display and remember fondly. In fact, my ultimate GI Joes are right there. I've got Serpentor and the Bats. Cobra Commander will be right there after
Nice.
this episode. Um, the I wanted to talk about Saturday morning cartoons.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun stuff.
Yeah, so
I
Saturday morning cartoons, because we all love them as the cartoons, but when we were kids, we may or may not understood that they were just 30-minute commercials, right? For the toys. So which cartoons that spawned toys were our favorite? And then how did that affect our need to buy the toys with our Saturday morning watch? I still get up. I still get up when it's quiet in the morning, because
Mhm.
this is another thing that you and I are opposite on. I am a morning person, so I'm rarely in bed past 7 o'clock. Like
Mhm.
that's like sleeping in is 7 o'clock. So
Wow.
sometime somewhere between 4:30 and 6,
Mhm.
I'm moving. And on Saturday mornings, I still get up and watch cartoons. I love it because the house is quiet, there's no one
Mhm.
around, and I've got a couple hours to sit and watch cartoons. And I still do. So what tell me about your Saturday morning cartoon library.
Oh man, it's been a long time since I have seen 7 o'clock because I work second shift. So to me, it's about the only time I want to be up at 7 o'clock in the morning is if something is horribly wrong and I needed to be awakened for it. Uh, and that's kind of it. Outside of
Well,
that, I
and
don't want to
and
be
we've
awake.
left when
Uh,
we leave for cons, when we
oh
leave
yeah,
to drive. There you go.
I consider that kind of an emergency. We gotta get up. We gotta go.
We gotta go.
Uh,
Yeah, all right, I get it.
so, but in my younger years, yes, absolutely. Saturday was like the free day. That was it. Like there were no rules until mom and dad got up, and then there were rules. But there were no rules up until that point, which meant that
Right. So the earlier you got up, the more
yeah,
freedom you had. That's the way
I
I looked at it.
I used to actually get up before Saturday morning cartoons began. Like I would go to bed, I would get up, and before cartoons started, nature shows were on. And I know that
Yes.
I sound like the biggest nerd in the world, but I
Mutual of
loved,
Omaha.
yeah, I loved watching Nova. And there used to be, I remember, I apologize for no pun intended rabbit holing down into this path, but I remember there being for a very long time before Saturday morning cartoons came on, there were animal shows, and it was always something versus something else. It would
Mhm.
be like tarantula versus spider hawk, or it would be
It's
like
like the inspiration for the sci-fi movies.
yeah, or like centipede versus scorpion, and it'd be the scientific breakdown of what the animals were in their natural habitats, and then they would encounter each other and they would fight. And it was great.
Yes.
As a kid, that's all you wanted. You're like, yeah, that's great. It's got 100 legs. When does it bite something to death that isn't me?
Right. Right.
But then cartoons would start, and
Right.
I remember. Let's see. Let me go with my one of my more fond memories. Muppet Babies.
Yes.
I know that Muppet Babies did not get like an actual toy line, but they did get a it was like a limited release series of plushies
Hmm.
for I don't remember if it was McDonald's or Burger King that actually had a limited
I
Christmas
want to say it
release of
was
those.
McDonald's, because McDonald's much earlier on, had the glasses. Remember, you used to get a glass, like a drinking glass,
Oh
and it was
yeah.
actually glass, and it had the
Yep.
painted, and they had the Muppet Spit. I've got a
They
bunch of those glasses, so I want to
oh
say it was McDonald's.
all right, that makes sense because I remember there being, and it was specifically Muppet Babies. They had a like a Christmas themed set of three, or you could buy like one of each, but there were three of them offered. There was Fozzie, Miss Piggy, and Kermit, and they came with. Kermit had like a little like soft goods vest that you could put on to him. He had
Yeah.
a little hat, and there was Velcro so you could take the hat on and off. Fozzie also had some kind of like Christmas themed hat, and Miss Piggy had a little pull up hood thing that you could pull up
Uh,
onto her, and they were
yeah.
really neat. But the show itself thoroughly enjoyable, and I
Right.
believe that everyone always wanted a toy of Nanny. to just
Yes.
figure out what she looked like. We never saw her face.
But that was a
We only
trope.
saw-
That was a trope. Like we had the same thing in Tom and Jerry. Remember, you
yes,
just see the legs walking around of
yes,
either the housekeeper or the mom. Yeah, the episode, of course, that sticks out is the one where they did the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
yes.
That
See,
was fantastic.
that's one of those shows where I kind of wonder how they managed to get away with using so much copywritten material. This is before Disney owned everything.
Right.
So they yeah, like they reference Star Wars, they reference Indiana Jones, 2001.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, there was a lot of public domain footage that was used. I remember there being like they do westerns and the weird just random reference like Charlie Chaplin style stuff. But
Yeah.
there was definitely some copywritten stuff that I don't
I'm
know if they were
surprised.
allowed to use.
I'm surprised that Diamond Select with their expansive line of Muppet figures that I'm afraid to get involved in buying, although I love them,
Mhm.
that they didn't do a Muppet Babies.
You would
I think
think it even has like a quickie subline to just crank out,
mhm.
maybe like a pack, like packs of two or
I'm
three
sur-
packs just to get them all out of the way.
did they not like because the Flintstone babies
Mhm.
had a toy line and
Yes.
it's cute. Like they all had the little Fang, the little kitten Fang came with his little
Mhm.
stroller and um Dino came with a little cart that you could stick Fred in and I have some of those on in my Hanna-Barbera collection, but I wish we would have gotten Muppet Babies in the same line, like the same style that we got the Flintstone
Yeah.
babies in.
You would think that that would have been the thing that had because they were so popular and that
Yeah,
show was
it
on
was
for
a
a
thing.
while.
I remember early on, like of course there was, the G.I. Joe and we loved them, but they were on in the afternoon as
Yeah.
well. But like the Smurfs, like
Hmm.
those little so here's a good example. Like the little vinyl Smurfs that we
Hmm.
all, know and some love. Like we had a bunch of those and we played with them like action figures, we
Hmm.
had and then had to come up with a storyline because then later on like they never made Big Mouth though. I don't know that they ever made Big Mouth, but they did make Johan and Pee Wee. Like Pee Wee
Hmm.
came with his little goat and
Yeah.
Johan was the squire, right? And they made Gargamel with his Azrael. This was in
Hmm.
the original line. I know the movie once had it,
Yeah.
but they were the same size as the Smurfs, so they were 3 apples tall, right?
Hmm.
And so you had to come up. So we made the story that Gargamel shrunk them. So this way he he's Gargamel. He's a goofy wizard, right? So he shrunk them so they could be on. Even I always loved this book because originally now which was first? Because there were two Gargamel stories. Like he wanted the Smurfs one
Yes.
to
So
eat
yeah,
like he wanted to make pies, but then he
I
had some like alchemy plan. Like he
yeah,
needed them as part of a recipe to make gold.
I think originally he wanted to eat them, and then
Right.
as the story became more popular, they were like, "No, maybe you don't want to murder and eat the Smurfs. Maybe you just want to turn them to gold and trade them in for money. Maybe
Right.
that's
If you
his get rich quick scheme."
if you
I
don't want them to
guess
be eaten, you shouldn't measure them in apples.
that I've always had an issue with the size the size that we were told that Smurfs were.
Yeah, because three
It's
apples
too it's that's a
is
decent
that's
size.
yeah.
That's a decent sized creature running around, and these things lived in a village. So, and I think we may have touched
And
on
they all
this in an
lived
earlier
alone, and there were
episode.
100
That
of them, right? Originally, there were 100. Then they found the
yes,
hillbilly, like the hillbilly ones.
yes,
But there were 100, and they all lived alone. So,
but like these
and those
villages, if we
mushrooms were
believe,
huge.
yeah, if we're to believe that a creature that's three apples high, and we were shown the inside of some of these houses.
Mhm.
They were big mushroom houses.
They were nicer than my house.
These things had to have been like the size of a refrigerator. Where is this village hidden?
Right,
I
but
refuse to believe he had a heart.
wasn't there some sort of enchantment or
There,
something?
there may have been. I guess it's one of those things where because we as the audience are seeing the show and we're seeing all these people like Gargamel continually found this village and set it ablaze. Johan and Pee Wee continually found this village. Like it seemed like
Right.
everyone was able to find this village without too much trouble. So how enchanted could it have been?
Right. Well, it's a cartoon. Like I was watching G.I. Joe the other day. Someone
Uh,
walked in the room and Snake Eyes and Duke and Scarlet were pinned down with gunfire, and the Cobras were up on this catwalk and had them pinned down, right?
mhm.
And they're shooting back and nobody's getting hit by anything, right? Good guy or bad guy, nobody
Mhm.
could shoot. And the Cobras were just lined up on this catwalk. It was like a duck shooting gallery. And Scarlet yells to Snake Eyes, like, we gotta get rid of the catwalk, or we gotta, do something. So
Mhm.
Snake Eyes pops out from where he is and shoots all of the poles holding the catwalk up, which are only like, they're poles. And he bam, 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 shoots 5 of them and the thing collapses and all. But
Sure.
he could do that, but he couldn't shoot the cobras, right? So the person in the room was like, well, why wouldn't he just shoot the cobras if he's such a good shot? And I'm like, shut
What
up.
are you doing? What are you
Come
doing?
on.
See, this right. So now we're gonna dig even deeper into this rabbit hole because I feel like it's hilarious. Have you seen the latest Fast Furious movie?
No.
All right, so it, the last movie that came out with John Cena, where
This
we're
is
to
not a
believe.
Saturday morning cartoon.
Listen, we're to believe in this movie that John Cena is the biological brother of Vin Diesel. It's touched upon in the movie, but
Right.
there is a scene where
Well,
they're
no
doing
one would
something.
believe that you and I are biological brothers.
Look, they don't need to know what our backstory is. Just understand it's Saturday morning logic. So there is a scene in this movie, and I won't give any like spoilers of the up to the plot because no one cares.
Yeah, because it's
But
such a, I'm sure it's a really in-depth plot.
there is a scene where they do something ridiculous and they get back to home base, and Tyrese actively looks at like himself. It's him and Ludacris, and they're sitting in the corner and they're talking about whatever just happened. And I kid you not, it's almost as if the Fast Furious franchise is becoming self-aware because he looks at what's going on. He's like, "How are we alive?" And Lucas is like, "What are you talking about? We got lucky. Like we're good at our jobs." And he's like, "No, no, no. I just got shot at by like 16 dudes with guns and bullets. My jacket's a mess. There's bullet holes in it. I'm fine. I have a scratch on me. What's happening?"
Yeah,
And
that's
it's this
Saturday morning.
hilarious like thin thing between that goes through the entire movie with just Tyrese. Where I'm like, at some point, this movie has to come
Right. There's a glitch in the
alive
matrix. Yeah.
and it needs to cross over with everything. I want it crossed over with Smurfs. I want Fast Furious to cross over with G.I. Joe. I want them to cross over
Right.
with Transformers.
Transformers would make sense. Yeah.
There's
But I wanted to talk about like that. Like the Smurfs cartoon was such a
mhm.
great commercial for the Smurfs. Like there were these ridiculous little creatures. Like,
Oh,
and yeah.
so jumping off from the Smurfs, the Snorks.
Oh, Lord.
Did the Snorks have a toy line? Because I don't remember them having one.
Yeah, they had a vinyl just like the
Really?
Smurfs. Yeah, they were a little more big-headed and kind of,
Mhm.
but they were that same size, the little vinyl ones.
Still
Mhm.
convinced that those all the Snorks are just drowned Smurfs.
I think it's like the story of Atlantis. Yeah,
they're
only
definitely an offshoot, and
I don't I don't remember the lore. By the time the Snorks came around, I had moved on from the Smurfs and that ilk, but I don't know the lore of the Snorks.
as far as I know, there's no connection between the two of them. They never had like a Jetsons meets the Flintstones
Right.
style origin. They just existed with a similar design
You know
because
what
of the
I
same
did
company.
though, playing with the Smurfs, so I needed a human, right?
Mhm,
So I didn't have a Gargamel that was appropriately sized because he was little. He shrunk
mhm.
himself. But I did have uh my villain human was the purple pie man from Strawberry
Oh,
Shortcake.
that was a
And
fun
I
series.
Yeah, I have him downstairs. Now I don't have any of the Strawberry Shortcake the ladies yet, but I do
Mhm.
have Purple Pie Man, and because it's still the one I had when I was a kid.
Mhm.
So, but he was the right size. Like
Yes, he was
and the
appropriately large
Smurfs,
compared
yeah,
to the
and they
like
looked
the
about
Strawberry
three
Shortcake
apples
people.
tall. So my villain wasn't Gargamel. It was Purple Pie Man who had little tiny Gargamel.
Do you know who I forgot about until I think I was in college before I was reminded that she existed. Sour grapes.
Tower
Do you
Grapes.
remember
Yeah, yeah,
her?
yeah. She came with the
I
Raven. Yeah, she
Yeah,
was cool.
and she would sing opera all the time, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh, no wonder no one likes you. You're one of those people.
She's
Because
so
they would have a
pretentious.
conversation, they would have a conversation, and in the middle of it, she would just start singing. Tell me you don't know somebody like that who thinks
I
that
do.
everyone needs to know that they can
It's
sing.
it's me.
You are the worst.
That's right. I feel like Tom is sending me a message. No more karaoke, Dana. No more.
You have hidden this well. You don't break out in a song ever when we're having lunch. Maybe it's from
I
all me
do. I do. I
from
just
me
do it
griping about it constantly.
in the bathroom. Uh, that's why I go to the bathroom so often. I feel a little ditty coming on.
All those Pepsis have nothing to do with it.
No. Um, yeah, I do drink a lot of Pepsi, loyal listener. Diet Pepsi. There's one right there. Um, yeah. So, how did the cartoons affect you? Like, so Transformers obviously was a big part of your Saturday morning.
Yeah, so those really did a number on me. Like the and I guess again, like as a kid, I guess anything that you see that is interesting, and you kind of want it when you see any sort of advertisement, whether it is intended to be as such or not, you're going to want it. Like my original things that I wanted were dinosaurs. And I remember
Mhm.
seeing like dinosaur books and magazines and whatever. And those were, even though they weren't saying to me, go out and bug your parents to get them to buy you these random generic imperial dinosaurs, I did because I wanted those. And then
Mhm.
the next thing that comes up is a show like Dinosaucers, which is
Right.
just full on lights and sound, and there's kids, and one of the kids looked like me, which was a big deal for like a mid
Right.
'80s cartoon.
When I first met you, I was like, "Wow, is that the kid from Dinosaurs?"
That's why I had to hide my secret ring. You're like, are you married? No. Why do you have a line on your hand on your ring finger? That's
That's
not
my little
important.
orphan Annie decoder ring. Shut up.
That's not important. Have some more Pepsi. Where are you going?
Right.
Uh, but yeah, like seeing
I'll be
something like
right back.
why did he sing that as he left? Uh, but yeah, like seeing like and dinosaurs were big things. Dino Riders, for example. Like
Yes,
I
Dinosaurs are cool, man.
that was a fun show. That was I loved the. I mean, I was still of the mindset that no dinosaur would stand still while you mounted random like armored treads and helmets to it. Although I don't know, horses let us put some dumb things on
Yeah.
them, so maybe not. But
Dumb things. Yep.
no
And
horse wants.
dogs let you put sweaters on them.
Oh man, were they feeding those dinosaurs enough to for them to be like, all right,
Yeah, they were just
yes,
so
this is
content.
fine. This is fine. But yeah, like seeing something like, dinosaurs are already cool, and then you get a show like Dinosaurs or Dino Riders where they're like, not only is it cool, it's motorized. You can go to the store, you can get it. Also,
Mhm.
here's some people. These people are the good guys, which I didn't identify with at all. I didn't care about the good guys in Dino
Of
Riders. I
course not,
wanted,
Tom.
I wanted the bad guys to do them in because they
Yeah.
had the cool.
You know what?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. The bad guys are cool because
Just because they wanted to do in the humans.
right.
I was
Yeah.
all about Team Evil Alien. Doing in
Yeah,
the
of
humans
course.
using
If
dinosaurs.
you got a choice between aliens and humans, you're gonna pick aliens every time. I liked that Saturday morning had different. So during the week, right, you could watch GI Joe, Voltron, and
Mhm,
Scooby Doo. Those were the big ones. Like I wanted to get
mhm,
home from school to watch GI Joe, Voltron, and Scooby Doo.
mhm.
But like Saturday morning Scooby Doo was different than week time Scooby Doo
Yes.
because they had the movies. Like they would
Mhm,
meet the Globetrotters and Sandy Duncan. Like I
mhm.
was a kid. Like why did I care about Sandy Duncan? But I did.
It
And then they would
felt
meet
different. It
Batman
felt
and
special.
Robin. Yeah, Abbott and
Mhm,
Costello, the Three Stooges. Like
mhm.
it was cool. Like it was a different Scooby Doo.
Yeah, that's like the when Ghostbusters started running 5 days a week, and those episodes, yeah, were still great. And on Saturdays, you would get like the different Ghostbusters. You
Mhm.
would get what was it? It was I think originally the quote unquote real Ghostbusters were just on Saturday, and then they got enough episodes to start running 5 days a week. And
Right.
then the new Saturday episodes were Slimer and the real Ghostbusters, which I hated Like
Yeah, that was weird.
yeah, once they started kind of focusing more on him and his antics than the actual Ghostbusters themselves. But it was kind of interesting because I remember the one of the, I guess the formats of the show was almost kind of Scooby Doo-ish, where it was still the Ghostbusters doing things.
Mhm.
I started rewatching it recently, and a lot of the earlier episodes, they would encounter a threat, they would go to encounter it, and then, or they would go to like have the showdown, and then there'd be like a music sequence, much like in Scooby Doo, when they would get chased by the ghosts, they'd have
Right.
weird, funny things happening. They do the
Yeah.
door gag, and I completely didn't remember that appearing in Ghostbusters
Right.
until I started rewatching
We've already established how much you like a good musical number. So
it.
yeah, and then they had, the ones that really were advertisements for toys. Like then
Mhm.
you got the ones that, were short-lived, like Black Star and
Yeah.
Brave Star,
Mhm.
lots of stars. Um, and those started coming up, and then, early morning you would have the Hanna-Barbera stuff, the
Mhm.
Thundar and Space Ghost in that. So what was the cartoon that triggered the most toy excitement for you?
Um, you know what? I'm gonna have to cheat. I'm gonna have to cheat and move from Saturday to Sunday
Yeah, do it.
because I remember the Sunday block of cartoons were kind of noticeably different from the
Yeah, and then
Saturday
it led
morning
into the
cartoons.
Godzilla movies. So
Yeah, because that was like the after live action afternoons of Godzilla movies and like badly
Kung
dubbed
Fu.
Chinese kung fu flicks.
Yeah, yeah.
But I remember specifically there was a block of cartoons that popped up, and uh it was robotics. It was
Yep.
Bigfoot and oh, was it like Bigfoot in the
Yes.
metal machines or Monster
Yes, I
Machine?
wanted I
It was
wanted so badly to have a remote control Bigfoot,
yes.
and then but my dad got me the little one that had the wire. When you want a remote control
Oh
car, you want the
yeah.
one that you could be, but it was the one
Yep.
with the wire you had to walk with, and
Just
I was
walk
like,
behind it.
"Ah,
It's not
Dad, come
going over
on now."
anything.
Yeah.
But those were, and I always thought that robotics specifically was interesting because that almost went in the opposite direction. There was
Yeah.
already a toy line. They already existed as like educational toys that where you could learn how like gyros and springs and whatever moved. And they were like, because I remember seeing them in like the Sears catalog, but they weren't under toys, or they were in like the
Right.
beginning section of toys under
Where
educational
all the
stuff.
educational garbage was. Yeah.
Yeah, you flip through that. But then this show appeared where they were like, make them characters. You can't make these. You can't make these
Mhm.
using those kits. You can
Right.
like there was a very short, very like thin correlation between the characters versus the toy line. But I always thought that was kind
Yeah.
of interesting that they here's a toy line, cram them into a show. I don't care how you managed to do it, but do that.
Mhm.
In humanoids, got me. I wanted,
Yes.
but again, like I just wanted like I wanted the humanoids and like all the non-human looking characters. So I was very sad that we didn't get the rest of that line. But the design of the Earth Core characters I thought was kind of interesting. I just
Mhm.
remember wishing that they weren't
They were
so
weird.
exaggerated. Yeah, they were
Yeah,
very strange. The artwork
they
was
look
very
like
exaggerated.
they look like the stunt doubles to killer clowns from outer space.
Yeah, very like kind of like bulbous and
Yeah.
yeah, like the odd proportions, which I guess was the art style they were going for. But
Those big giant circles on their legs. I'm like, what
mhm.
is in there? Like, what is the point? Is that like, is that, what I always thought? Like, that's where they went to the bathroom, because you can't go to the bathroom in that suit,
specifically
right? So that
specifically in
would just,
Liquidator's outfit. They're like,
right.
come here,
So,
Liquidator, I gotta go. You gotta come over here. And he was like, oh, for the love of Pete,
and that was
a
the
break.
reservoir in which, look, we've been fighting for 8 hours. I gotta go, man. I need to,
Do you remember a show called Cosmic Cat?
yes.
And he had a mouse sidekick. And I
Mhm.
remember being, I always, those, that was the show that I wanted toys for. And they fought like
Right.
the weird mobster toad guy. And I didn't understand like the,
Right. He
why
was
was,
cool.
yeah, and he had the typical, yeah, see, gonna
Because,
take out Cosmic Cat, see. I'm like, why is he fighting with a cat from space? And why does he not really care that much about it?
I want to know if Cosmic Cat hung up with Cosmic Cow from
Oh, good question. Did
what was
oh
that show?
Was it Too Close for Comfort?
Too Close for Comfort. Yeah, and the dad was a cartoonist, and he would draw with the cow, like, yeah,
Yes. And I remember when I started drawing, seeing how silly that
yeah.
was.
You know what I hated? When I felt like I got ripped off by a cartoon. Like, the cartoon was much cooler than the toys. One of those examples was Jace and the Wheeled Warriors,
Yes.
and the
I
other was like Mask. Like,
mhm,
I loved the concept that the vehicles were cool. The
mhm.
first one I got was Sly Rax. That's
Yeah.
such a cool name. It's just like drips with sleaziness, right? Sly Rax. Not a guy you would trust. You wouldn't loan Sly Rax money.
And he's
But
always asking for it.
and he had the little leather jacket, and he had the purple motorcycle with the
Mhm.
sidecar that shot off, and it was cool. But they were little, like they
Yeah.
were like Dino Rider size, the
Mhm.
guys. And at the time when they came out, they weren't comparable to anything except for Eagle Force, which was already,
Yeah.
antiquated. And so it's one of those instances where the cartoon was cool, and I was like, I got to get these guys. And then I got them, and I never played with them because they weren't compatible with anything else.
I do remember reading that I guess one of the pitfalls to Jason the Wheeled Warriors was that they almost kind of went the He-Man route, where they gave the studio very limited amounts of information, and they're like, this is what we got. Make a toy based on these, and they
Yeah.
did. And they're like, we can't just have a show about. We need characters, so they created Jace, and they created all the human characters and that
Mhm.
obnoxious little robot knight. And it became, when people started watching the show, and then the toy line came out, and they're like, why can't can I buy Jace? And they're like, well, no, because he doesn't exist, because the studio made him up. So I imagine
Right.
if that had continued, they may have eventually gotten to the human characters, but it was too late because people were upset that they couldn't have these characters that they were showing on the
Right.
show.
Yeah, the show was much cooler than the toys. It was such a ripoff.
But on the flip side of that, do you remember Rubik's The Magic Cube?
I do, yeah, and Cubert was also
Yeah, they were just like, here's the successful thing, here's this thing that already exists. Make a show. Uh, Out of a cube? Sure, do it. So
sure, why not?
they put that creepy
It
uh,
was creepy.
like a weird cubist version of a Smurf's face on him.
Yeah,
I remember
it
seeing it,
was
and he had the
really
random
weird.
legs. I don't remember any episodes of it, but I remember being really thrown off by his design.
Yeah, it's like this demonic puzzle box, but it was like from Hellraiser.
Solve the Rubik's cube. No, please don't do that. Now, considering gaming companies at the time had no issues with presenting things like the Ouija board as fun for the family to get
Right,
involved in, I'm kind
right.
of amazed we got no crossover there with Rubik's
Yeah,
cube and the puzzle blocks, the lament configuration of Rubik's.
right, yeah, and, that wasn't like we've talked about Turbo Teen and now Rubik's Cube being really creepy. Like, there were some creepy cartoons.
I mean, even like the reinterpretation of the thing
Yes.
when that was running, how he was everyone was a nerdy kid who got who got powers, and the ring thing didn't he
Ring thing, do your thing, yeah, and then
and
he
he
would
would
change into the thing.
turn into a hideous rock monster.
Yeah, I wonder why they made that change. I guess so that he could have
It,
a human half, and then he could have that storyline
I
of
guess I
the
guess I guess because when they started messing around with the idea of in the comics the thing having a very Hulk like situation where he could change from human Ben Grimm into the thing and
yeah,
then go back and forth. I guess maybe they thought that was too much like the Hulk, even though
yeah,
he's nothing like the Hulk.
right,
Uh,
yeah, that was weird.
but but, but yeah, so I remember Rubik's being part of that cluster where that was kind of an interesting period of time because we were going from just straight up toy commercials into video games because it was part of that, like you said, like that
Right,
Rubik's
Pac-Man.
Cubert Pac-Man cluster. And then the Nintendo thing took off, and we had Super Mario Brothers and the well, Legend of Zelda was more of a Friday thing. I don't believe that had a Saturday morning
Why didn't we get a
cartoon.
Frogger cartoon where he would get splattered all over the highway?
Did we have? I believe that we did have a Frogger cartoon.
Oh, there may have been, but obviously a different premise.
I know accompanying toy line. Uh,
You know what? No one remembers. I used to get up at like 5 in the morning to watch the Giggle Snort Hotel.
I don't remember this at all. What
No,
what is this?
it was a dragon who was the concierge of this hotel, and all these colorful characters with it. But he was like a puppet. He was like a puppet,
Huh?
and it was cool because there was a constant flow of smoke out of his nostrils, like
So he, so he,
constantly.
so he kind of had a condition that should have been concerning to everybody, but they just let him exist like that.
I have a condition. Yeah, he yeah, Giggle Snort Hotel. Look it up. I was the only one who ever watched it. I think I was the only one.
Oh, it sounds like it's in the same league as the Secret Garden,
Yeah,
which
that
which no one remembers.
oh, the Magic Garden. Magic
Oh,
Garden.
there you're right, the Magic
With the
Garden.
Chuckle Patch, the
Yup,
little and Sherlock, the pink
and the
squirrel,
pink
and
squirrel.
those two hippie chicks with the guitars. Yeah,
I
the
did
Magic
not
Garden.
I did not realize that.
Sherlock. The squirrel's name was Sherlock.
Oh, that's right. I did not realize the sacrifice that my dad made by allowing us to watch that show. He was not a fan, but he was like, my ridiculous kids enjoy this show for reasons I don't understand.
Right. That's it's got to.
Never
It was
got a
kind of
toy line.
trippy.
Never got a toy line.
No, I would have wanted Sherlock the squirrel.
I think everyone would have
I mean,
wanted that.
we have Squirrel Girl. Why don't we have Sherlock the squirrel?
Yeah, so speaking of pink things, I guess as a random final tail end to this, Pink Panther and Sons. Do you
Yeah.
remember or the it was Pink Panther and Sons, and then the main cast was the Rainbow Panthers. And we
Right.
never that was another one that I remember enjoying way more than I had any reason to or right to. The intro, super catchy.
Yeah.
But no never any toys for that, which was kind of weird because it
Well,
was so color coded like the Care Bears and Rainbow Bright
right, Care
that you would think
Bears,
that would
the shirt tails, that was another
yeah.
big one. But they did like we saw them, and I was tempted to pick them up. The Pink Panther toy lines. They looked very much like the Muppets. I can't remember if they were
Yeah,
Diamond Select or not,
we
but they were
finally
cool.
got some actual Pink Panther
And
toys.
that the aardvark that was Jackie Mason
Yes.
did the voice where he was like, "Hey, Ed, hey, Ed, why don't you come out of that hole?"
Yeah, I wish I could remember offhand the company that made them because they were skewing more towards like actual animated
Yeah,
look
yeah,
as
they looked
opposed to
really
like an
cool.
interpretation of them.
Now I'm gonna have to buy them. Jeez.
Next weekend, save up your money, save your
Right.
pennies. We're gonna go
Next
back and get
episode, I'm
those.
gonna be like, "You got this stupid Pink Panther.
Like
It's
that's
the
awesome.
Tom. And now I have to go get the aardvark and Inspector Clouseau."
And unfortunately, I'm not gonna be of any help curbing your desire to get those.
No, you're a total enabler. But this has been cool, reminiscing. Now we didn't talk a lot about the toys that came with them, but we did have a good chat about some toys and some Saturday morning cartoons. So I appreciate you indulging me in this, Tom.
It's a good stroll down memory lane.
Yeah.
So viewers, watchers, listeners, hopefully contributors, if you would like to let us know what kind of cartoons you remember from Saturday and what kind of toy lines that you wish they did or did not spawn, feel free to get in touch with us. Our Twitter handle is 2guystalking_toys. That's the number 2, no G after the talking. Feel free to send us an email to Gmail. That is also 2guystalking_toys. That is the number 2, no G after the talking. All right, this has been great. If you enjoy what you're hearing, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the video, help feed the YouTube algorithm, because if you enjoy what you're listening to, that will actually help this pop up a little bit more. And if for whatever reason it gets eaten and removed from your subscriptions, this will put it back in there.
If we get 25 subscriptions, Tom will open an OnlyFans account.
That's right. It'll just be me opening Warhammer figures. So if you
I would subscribe to that.
If you want to make me a sad broke person, because Joy Toy is not cheap by any stretch of the imagination, please do that. Just kidding. Don't do that.
All right. Thank you, loyal listener.
Take care, everybody. I like the combination of Reese's and Batman.
That's right.
Because at first I didn't realize that it was something different.
Because the colors are the same, right?
Yeah, I had blended it, and I was like, Reese's Batman. When did Batman eat Reese's Pieces? Who is this villain? This just means that we need Batman versus E.T. sooner than later.
Right, exactly.